This is a Brightin Star 27mm f2.8 manual focusing lens. As you can see, this is a tiny lens. It's super compact. It's like the pancakiest of pancake lenses out there. This is a Leica M Mount lens, but you can get an adapter to put it on your Fujifilm X Mount cameras. Now, this is what you are seeing right now. This is the adapter from the Leica M Mount to the Fujifilm X Mount. And this right here is how tiny this pancake lens is. If you have a Leica M camera right now, this camera will just sit right in. It's freaking crazy. Without the adapter, this lens is pretty tiny and compact, which is great for you Leica M mount shooters out there. But, you know, with the Fujifilm, you're going to have to add in that adapter, and it's still a compact in my opinion. This is what it looks like on the Fujifilm. Not bad at all. Look at that. It's like so flat, you can't even see it. This lens is pretty weighty for its size, and I won't say that it's a bad thing, but you will be surprised by how hefty, how dense it is for something so small. I guess because apparently this lens is made out of brass, quite heavy. It also has a focus tab so you can manually focus better. And this lens is so small, and you know, this is the lens cap right here. The aperture goes from f2.8 all the way to f16, and as you can see here, it's pretty flat. It's a small pancake lens, and on a full frame camera, this will use its full field of view, which is 28mm focal length, which falls in line with what street photographers use when they go out and shoot. It's also great for documenting things and just overall an everyday lens you can take on your long walks. The 28mm is a focal length that I am not accustomed to. To me, it's a boring focal length. There's not much action going on there, so I much prefer the 35mm full frame focal length. However, I used to own the Ricoh GR2 and I was very fond of that camera, so I thought I would give this lens another chance. But then I just realized that if you put this lens on an APS-C body like my Fujifilm X-T5, then this 28mm becomes like a 40mm equivalent. When it comes to sensor sharpness at f2.8, pretty good. And the sensor sharpness doesn't improve until f8 and f11, where you're going to see the sensor sharpen up a lot from f2.8. So the sharpness on this lens is pretty good, surprisingly. Listen guys, I have zero expectations. It's just because this lens is so tiny and pancakey that I don't believe that they can put enough in here to make the images look good. But judging from this sharpness test that I did, it did quite well, and I did it on the 40MP sensor as well. And this proves to be a challenge for other Chinese manual lenses out there, but not for this guy right here. It did pretty good, so it can keep up with the demanding 40MP sensor, which is crazy. I gotta say, there are some crazy flares with this lens. It gives these red light streaks when the sun hits it at a certain angle, and it happens a lot if you're in a sunny place. And you can't get a lens hood for this lens due to how tiny this lens is. This is a pancake lens, by the way. And when it comes to chromatic aberration, I couldn't find anything noticeable. There are a little bit of green fringing that I found, but honestly, I was looking for these things at 300%. This lens is coming in at over $330 natively for the Leica M mount. If you're shooting with a different camera system, then you're going to need to purchase an adapter to go along with it, which costs another $50 to $60 depending on the camera system. Another thing that I don't like about this lens is the aperture ring. This lens is so small and it's kind of dainty, so I had a hard time gripping onto the aperture and switching apertures. So what you need to do is just put your finger on to the ring and just twist it like this, like a purple nurple. I know nothing about the physics of this lens. Now, I'm not a lens engineer or anything like that, but couldn't they have made this into a clicked aperture so we can get that feedback to know that we switch aperture? Because for right now, it's hard for me to know what aperture I switch to if I do it blindly. So every time I switch aperture, I do have to look at it and switch the dial and make sure the arrow is lined up against the aperture that I want it to be at. But other than that, I enjoyed using this lens as an everyday documentary lens. This lens gets the job done in that sense, and the image is pretty good. It's small and compact. For you guys out there that are having a hard time finding the XF 28mm f2.8 pancake lens yourself, might I suggest this alternative right here. This lens is a fun lens to use. It's a bit quirky, it's quirky. The shooting experience feels a lot different from what I'm used to, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It just makes it more fun in the end, trying to figure things out. But what are your thoughts on this lens? Let me know your shooting experience when it comes to the Brightin Star 28mm f2.8. And if you're interested in this lens, I'll leave the links down in the description below. And consider subscribing for more Fujifilm content. And thanks so much.